Support and resistance are structure levels where we can often expect a pause or reversal of the market. These are areas that price has repeatedly reacted to in the past, often finding difficulty to break through. Support is the lower area of structure beneath price action, and resistance is the upper area above price action. Support and resistance areas can be good places to enter or exit trades. While these levels have an element of subjectivity, we'll instigate rules to encourage consistency. In trending markets, our highs and lows of the trend can be marked as support and resistance areas. When the trend continues, the previous resistance level can become the current support level in an uptrend, or in a downtrend, the previous support level can become the current resistance level. Support and resistance areas on higher timeframes are considered stronger areas, so there may be a higher likelihood that the market will react to these. Let's check these out on the chart. To identify support and resistance levels, we'll look at the charts and identify areas where price made significant moves away from and where price interacted with multiple times. This process can be quite subjective, so ensure you outline a few rules to make it as consistent as you can. We're on the New Zealand dollar US dollar daily chart, and I've wound the charts back to the start of 2018 so we can mark out some support and resistance levels and see how price reacts to them in the coming years. To begin, I'm going to look for areas where price has made a large push in or out of and has visited multiple times. So the first ones that catch my eye are these two here. There's a large push into this area before moving down, coming back up and having a large push out of it. I'm going to place a horizontal line just so I can observe how price reacts to it before and after these regions. So looking prior to that, we can see there's a bit of a bounce off with a long wick there on this downtrend, and we have another candle that has a bit of indecision, a long wick at the top and the bottom. So that's showing that this may be an interesting area. Moving along, we've got a push off here. We have a bit of consolidation around this area before pushing up through it. We have another visit down, just touching it there, one that almost makes it, and a few touches around here as well before a large push up. And once again, come back down a visit, bounce through there a couple of times before pushing off again. So that's showing that this is a great area of interest. Support and resistance areas are exactly that. They are areas, not specific price points, much like the upper and lower areas of our consolidation zones. Now to mark out this area, I'm going to place another line and we can move them up and down slightly to optimize it to catch as many of the price touches as we can. So I'm going to use the shortcut to place another horizontal line, and I'm going to go through and refine where these sit. Now I like to start by attaching this to the bodies of the 2 points which first gained my interest. I'll look at that prior one, and that looks like it's bouncing within that region pretty well. I want to just catch the bottom of these bodies so we can include more at price within there. We have a wick touch there. I'm pretty happy with that. And we have a few around here as well. We have the bodies entering this zone. And over here, we have some slight pushes just below. And this is a little more recent. I'm going to actually attach it to the bottom of those bodies. So we're looking like we're in a pretty good area there now. I'm happy with that as our first support or resistance area. Now let's mark out a few others. Okay, so looking above there, we can see there's a push down in this region and some pushes up there. So this is starting to look like a pretty good, interesting region as well. A lot of price action through here. So I'm going to start just placing a line just so I can start checking it against other areas. So we're going to bounce there with some breakthroughs, but it's more I'm just trying to find the common area between all. Pushing through it and bouncing back after, that's still okay. As I said, this is all subjective, so you might want to place it somewhere else. I'm just seeing which of these areas may be kind of a stronger area in my opinion. So I'm liking the look of how this pushes down and pushes up and then continues straight through. So I want to capture a little bit of that as well. So I'll put my upper line there and start checking through a few things. I like how this continues around this area. We've got a lot of wick pushes into here. Anything else just seems to push straight through. Once again, a few bounces, a few breaks, but that's no worries. We've got a bit of activity that's not showing as stronger, but we've got these two in there, which I like. And looking prior, we have this bounce in here too. So I'm quite liking the look of that area as well as another support or resistance zone. So let's see how that plays out a little later on. So looking below this first one, I want to capture a few areas below this initial one we did as well. So I'm going to mark out my first line and I'll adjust that as need be. But I like how that's catching a few things from above, a few things from below as well, showing its consistency throughout. I'll place my other line as well and then just start optimizing them. Okay, nothing, no touches on there recently, but we'll see how that plays out later on. Now continuing down, since we're in this area, I'm going to see if there's anything around here of interest. I'm going to place a line just so I can start observing and start moving it around. I am quite liking those sort of bodies around there, as well as our bouncing around it there and our push back. So I'll place another line too. Once again, I know we have a push through here and a push back, but our most commonly bounced off area seems to be in the middle here as well from both sides. So I'm going to stick with that. Okay, so we've done a couple below that initial one. I want to have a look at a few of these points above as well, because we can see there's a fair bit going on around here. And I want to capture something within this as well. So there are a few points that are looking quite interesting. We can see there's a lot of touches around here. So I might start framing out for a bit of this based on this massive push down here and this one all within the same sort of region. Okay, so I might just optimize this a little bit. I might just capture the bottom of those bodies so we can get a little bit more of everything. Kind of around the top of these bodies here as well, these ones in the middle. That seems to be, I mean, there's a fair few breaks through there. It doesn't seem as solid until this region here. So that's what's giving me a little bit more confidence in this zone, as well as these touches along here. The more recent ones, I'm going to rely on a little bit more than some of these earlier ones. And looking earlier, we can see we've got a little touch into that area, as well as this bounce here. So that's giving me great confirmation about that one. And looking up at this extreme here, we can see there's quite a push back. And looking prior, we can see there's some interest around that region here. So I'm quite liking that. I might frame out this body over here as marking my initial zone. So we've marked out 6 support and resistance zones, which is actually quite a lot, and it looks a little convoluted at the moment. But bear in mind, we will be trading on more like the 4-hour or 1-hour charts, so these areas will seem a lot further apart. Now that we have these zones marked out, let's see how price reacted to those over the past 4 years. To make it easier to see, I've marked all these areas in orange as well, and let's go ahead and get out of replay mode. Now, out of replay mode, we can see that we're getting quite a bit of interaction with this area down here before a small bounce off, a push down of this one, some rejection up here, and some further rejection here after a bounce. Once again, moving down, a bounce back into this region before being pushed down, a bounce beyond the region. So it's showing these are working well as support and resistance. Now, it's not always going to match exactly where the market's going, but you can see it's giving you a good idea of where it might take a pause and where it might be good areas to enter and exit trades. We can see we're moving back, and even after moving beyond these regions, we're still getting some reliable bounces from those regions. Even as we move through, here we have early 2021, we get a perfect bounce out of this area here. We have more interaction with these zones. We have a bounce out of this upper region at late 2021. We have a bounce between these two regions in early 2022. We have a slight wick bounce down there and pushing up into this region before pushing down again. We have another nice area bouncing out of that region. So you can see even as time goes on, while these areas might drift a little bit, overall they hold pretty reliable. While there is no exact science and they are still somewhat subjective, do not underestimate the value of support and resistance zones.